welcome to the AT Center at TCNJ. This webinar series is titled Unleash Your Technology and is presented by Mike Murata. This module is focused on built-in accessibility features in iOS for your iPad and iPhone. Mike Murata is a Resna certified assistive technology professional and inclusive technology evangelist who has been providing direct services to individuals with all types of disabilities for almost 30 years. Mike is the 2017 ITSD Inclusive Learning Network Outstanding Educator. Mike is a nationally and internationally recognized presenter who was previously a trainer for the California State University at Northridge, providing practical and in-depth training to professionals interested in specializing in assistive technology. Mike runs his own consulting company, Inclusive Technology Solutions, LLC, where he provides services related to providing inclusive technology solutions for all learners. Mike is the director of the Richard West Assistive Technology Advocacy Center at Disability Rights New Jersey and serves on the CAST Accessible Educational Materials and the Center on Inclusive Technology and Educational Systems advisory boards. Mike is also the founder of EdCamp Access New Jersey and co-moderator of the weekly AT Chat in Twitter. Let's listen to Mike.
Hello there. Welcome to our Unleash Your Technology webinar. We're going to start this one talking about iPads and iPhones. So looking at your iOS devices, digging into a little bit of the features that come with it, maximizing your potential of the device you have, which is incredibly powerful as it is. So we're going to dig into that a little bit. My name is Mike Murata. Hello. I am going to be your guide through this process as we have this conversation. I am, as you can see from my little slide there, many different hats in this field of assistive technology. I'm an assistive technology specialist for over 30 years. I have this really great new title I've just created for myself called Inclusive Technology Evangelist. I'm also the director of the New Jersey Assistive Technology Act program and an adjunct professor at Ramapo College in New Jersey. I'm the author of several ISTE publications. One is a book called Inclusive Learning 365, EdTech Strategies for Every Day of the Year. And the other is brand new. It's a deck of strategy cards called the Quick Wins Strategy Cards, Tips to Activate Inclusive Learning. So there you go. There's all the plugs out of the way first thing. So that's me. I'm hopeful that I can share some experiences with you throughout this webinar that allow you to grow your use of these Apple products. So we'll look at built-in features of the iOS products, and that will also transfer over to the iPad OS. So your mobile devices from the Apple family technically have two different operating systems. The iPhone is called iOS, the iPad is called iPad OS. Most of the features are the same. The ones we're going to talk about today, when we look at built-in accessibility, those are pretty much the same. There's some changes in the iPad when you look at some of the way it provides some of their functions that it does, make it more computer-like. I had said in the very beginning that we're going to try to give you a path here to maximize your devices because the device you have is ridiculously powerful. In fact, here's your little nugget of information. Maybe you use this at a party. Hey, did you know? And try that. I don't think it'll work. I don't think that'll bring a lot of people to you, but maybe it will. Your phone right now, your phone is 1 million times more powerful than the lunar lander. Yes, that lunar lander, that one right there that landed on the moon. So you have an incredibly powerful device in your hand. My question to you is, what are you doing with it? What are your students doing with it? How is it being maximized? Are you maximizing it? Are you using it to its fullest? And so what we're going to dig into today in our time together is how do we use the built-in features. And then I'm going to give you a little extra at the end, we're going to jump out into a couple apps that Apple has that can even extend this functionality more. But the thought, kind of the premise of what we're going to move through our time together with is, how can I customize that experience for my student, whoever I'm working with, whatever it is that however you're providing support? How can I do that with the tools I have before going to any additional apps? I think a lot of times people will jump right into the App Store and want to buy things. I need a tool that reads text out loud. Which one should I buy? Maybe none of them. Why don't you try using the one that's built into your phone and see if that works? And we're going to talk about that as we go through it. It's a better way to move forward, because how many of us, this is me, I'm going to ask you to judge yourself. You don't have to share this with anyone, but how many apps on your phone are in there that you never use? As you scroll through pages of your phone and you realize, wow, I got a lot of stuff on here that is not in my daily use or weekly use. And that's what starts to happen when people download a bunch of apps that really they don't have any reason to download them. And so we're going to look at that. We're going to look at your built-in accessibility. I like thinking about built-in accessibility as a proof of concept. When I go and I work in a school, I talk to administrators, I talk to educators, and they may be quick to say, please recommend apps for us to purchase. And I don't always want to do that. I want to ease into that. I want to show that the tools work before we go forward, because we can use the built-in accessibility features to demonstrate effectiveness. It's a proof of concept. I think this will work. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. If the app that I'm using or the built-in feature I'm using meets the needs of the person I'm working with, there's no reason to go buy other apps. We've done it. We've figured it out. We've solved the puzzle. Good for us. Let's move on to something else. The moment we need to look for other apps is the moment someone says, whether it's the person using the tool or the team members around that person, the minute someone says, this is good, but I wish it did this. The minute someone says that, they're telling you the built-in feature does not have enough capability to provide them the support they need. Then you go look for something else. But it also helps you focus what you go look for, because now you know the feature you're missing. I really like this tool, but I wish it did dual color highlighting as it read. Great. Now I can go look for something that has dual color highlighting. So I know the feature that I'm searching for. It helps narrow down my search field. Because the other thing that people panic, and maybe you panic as well, every once in a while I will panic also. If I don't know the names of apps, what am I going to do? And I like to remind people, don't panic about that all the time, because if you know what you want from an app, you can search. Don't go to the App Store, go to Google and put in the search bar what you're looking for. iPhone app that reads text aloud with adjustable speeds for reading and dual color highlighting. Do a search on that, and guess what? Tools and apps that have that will show up, and then you can explore them and see which ones work for you. So understanding what you need becomes the key. And with that said, I can't jump into a conversation about tech without starting here first and reminding you that don't get enamored with the technology first. The technology is the last thing we talk about. In assistive technology, follow something called the SET framework, developed by Joy Zabala. This idea of understanding the person you're working with, the student, understanding the environment they're going to be in, what will impact the use of technology within that environment, what impacts the individual in that environment, the tasks they need to do. That's what's driving this process, the tasks that someone needs to accomplish. Only when I know those three things can I start to analyze and find a tool that's effective. Unfortunately, a lot of times people do this backwards. They start with a thing, the tool. I have this tool. I'm going to try to use it with everybody, whether it works for you or not. Um, that's a backwards way of thinking of this. So approach this from a who is this individual? Where are they going to be? And what do they need to do? Once you've locked those down, the tool part's actually very easy at that part because you know what it is you're looking for at that point. So think about that as you go. I don't want to be someone who drops a lot of tools on you because I think that there's a tendency for people to do that. I want people to have the right tools, not the most tools. Having the most is not impressive. Um, Having a couple that work is impressive. So before we dive into some of the features, here's my little moment to remind you, as if you need a reminding, but I'm going to do it anyway. You're watching me on a recording. If something I mention sounds interesting to you, pause the recording and go do it. Go check it out. If you've never heard of one of these features and you want to go explore, hit pause, grab your phone, grab an iPad, and go explore it. I'm gonna give you a bunch of little gems here as we go through. Hopefully that you can use to be better equipped to understand your technology and to provide support to the individuals you work with. But remember, you can stop at any point and go off and look and explore. So make sure you do that. So we're going to talk about built-in accessibility of your iDevices. Where do we go? If you've never been there, well, you go into settings. Go into settings, go into accessibility, and there you are. All of them are there. You will see groupings of features, and this will be one of my many soapboxes, I'm sure, that I step on in this webinar. These features are grouped into categories: vision, physical and motor, hearing, speech, accessories, and then general at the bottom. That's fine, I guess. If you're Apple and you want to put things in groups, that's fine. I would encourage you, don't get too hung up on the groupings because what you're going to find is there may be some features that live in a grouping that don't apply to who you're trying to help with it. For example, in the very first grouping there in that picture. So that's a snapshot of my iPad, and it shows all of the groupings of the features. The first grouping is vision. Okay, awesome. I go through it and I'm looking through some of the choices, and some of them are clearly focused pretty exclusively on vision. Great. But then I get to something like spoken content, which we're going to talk about in a second. Spoken content is not just for someone with a visual need. To hear things read aloud could be for someone with a learning disability, could be someone with a cognitive impairment, could be someone with a visual impairment. It could be, but it has a broad use. And so by only focusing on the headers of these groupings, you may miss the feature you really want. And so what I would encourage you, and maybe this is your first time that you stop and you dig around, open up accessibility and just scroll through and see what some of those things are. And here's my challenge to you as we go through. I'm not going to show you every feature, by the way. I'm not going to show you every accessibility feature. I'm going to highlight a handful, and then hopefully you'll go out and explore. But if you want to dig into all of them, I would encourage you to do that. But here's my one little suggestion. If you're going to do that, turn on one feature at a time, explore a little bit, turn it off before you go to the next one. Don't start, and I've seen people do this, and it does not work well. They go into the boxes for the settings and just click them all on, and then they start exploring. You do that, you're not going to be sure what's doing what. It just potentially could be a nightmare. So don't do that. Pick one, play a little bit, turn it off, pick another one as you go through. But definitely take some time to dig through. There are a lot of features there. I think as we go through, and maybe you've watched the other webinars that I've done already. So I've done a built-in features of Android, built-in features of Chrome. If you haven't looked at them, go find them and watch them. Tons of features in those tools too. But I would have to admit You're not supposed to have favorites, but here it comes. As far as built-in accessibility, the Apple products have the deepest feature set. Some of the other tools have good features too, and they have really good features, but this one has probably the most features. Um, and this we see features that are more well thought out and more the feature itself has a lot of kind of sub features, or it's very well thought out as it goes through. So this might be your top of the line as far as we think about built-in accessibility. So there you go, Apple, you did it. Congrats. So as we dig in, let's talk about some of them. And as I thought about putting this together, there was a debate of kind of going back and forth to my iPad, and then I had this fear of I was just tempting the technology gods there to break the whole thing. So I chose not to do that. So I made some videos from my iPad or my phone, and then I embedded them into the presentation here. And so that's how we'll watch it, and we'll talk about it a little bit. So the first one that I had already mentioned, because I think it's a really important one. I think when we think about a built-in accessibility feature that kind of cuts across disability types, cuts across needs, as far as what is one that is kind of universally needed. And that would be to have the ability to have text read aloud. And so on your iDevices, you have two ways that text can be read aloud, and that is under the spoken content setting, which is in that vision chunk of settings, and you have spoken content. You have speak selection and speak screen. Two different ways to do this. Speak selection allows you to highlight text, holding your finger down on the screen. It blocks it out into a highlight, and then you hit speak and it reads the text. All right, here, I did not test the video before we started. So either it's going to work right now or you're going to get a weird cut here, and I'm going to pause it and I'm going to figure out, come back. So let's see what happens. It worked. Okay, great. So here we are on my phone. We're going to read through a chunk of text. So I'm going to find some text. I'm going to hold my finger down on the text to get the highlight. I'm going to spread the bubbles out and then hit speak.
It's safe, secure, and confidential. Your information and privacy are protected.
Speak selection. Now, some of the things that we saw there as it went through in that little quick display, I choose the text on the screen. So the key piece there is the text has to be accessible to this tool. So the trick here is that not every app will allow you to select text. I did this in Safari, knowing it was an Apple app, so I knew it would work. But some of your third-party apps might not work as smoothly with this built-in text-to-speech. So that might be something to play with a little bit. If I can highlight text and I can make it larger to what I want to read, Speak shows up right in that toolbar with copy, paste, lookup, share. Speak becomes one of those options. If you notice, voice, that's the built-in voice for my iPhone. Good sounding voice as far as text to speech goes. The other thing, if you noticed, and I can go back so it plays again, notice I did get dual color highlighting as it read.
It's safe, secure.
So right now I have the sentence in yellow, the word being spoken in blue, dual color highlighting to help visually support that reading experience. I chose those colors, by the way. So when you go into spoken content, you can change those colors. You can change the way it highlights. Those are my choices. So that's a conversation to have with who you're working with. What works for you? Is it yellow and green? Is it red and green? I don't know. What works for you? This is one of those moments you're going to hear, here comes my soapbox. I'm going to drag it out from the desk. If the color choices work for the person you're working with, great. This is not your choice. Like I said to you before, I chose that. That's my phone. I chose yellow and blue. Yellow and blue might not work for you. Well, then you change it on your device. As long as the individual can use this feature effectively and get the information they need, we shouldn't care what color they use. Shouldn't care. I don't care. Green and yellow, great, whatever. Does not matter. So keep that in mind as we go forward, that you're working with that person to figure out what works for them. And what works for them might be very different than what works for you, and that's okay. All right, so box pushed back under the desk. So that's speak selection. The other option is speak screen. So now what I can do instead with the speak selection, I was able to very clearly pick what I wanted to read. I wanted to read that bullet and listen to it out loud. Maybe I want to hear the whole screen. Maybe I'm looking at a book on my device and I want to listen to the whole page. Swipe down from the top, the entire page will read. So there's another option as you can go forward. So that's more of the entirety of the page, which for some users could be really helpful because I don't have to constantly select text and then hit speak. For other people, speak selection is the better choice for them because it's very focused. I choose what I want to read and it's only reading that. Reading everything to where I have to visually discriminate where I am on the screen. No, it's this bullet, it read it out loud, and then it stopped. So keep that in mind as your two choices for reading accessible text on the screen. The other way your iDevices read is a little different, and it's called VoiceOver. This is a screen reader. So this is not just going to read the text, but it's going to read all of the elements on the screen. Much different. This is a lot of information. So I'm going to let this one play. Same page. Here's how it sounds with VoiceOver.
VoiceOver on. CarPlay. United States Census 2020. Image. Navigation. Landmark.
So you hear all of that first. We haven't even gotten to the text, right? It said things and it said CarPlay. I was in my car when I recorded this, so my phone was hooked to my car. You notice I haven't gotten to the text yet. It's orienting me to the page. It read the image on the top left, which said United States Census 2020, called that the landmark. That's the top left corner. That's what I know in space is the top left of the page. It's going to go through and find the elements on the screen and then read them out loud to me.
Menu. Button. And. Navigation. Collapsed. Menu. Expanded. Frequently asked questions. Link. Instructions. Link. The 2020 census questionnaire should be completed.
So as you went through, menu collapsed, menu expanded. It gave me the FAQ link, instructions link. I clicked it. It brought me to the instructions page and started to read. All of those pieces that were navigation and screen elements read out loud to me. Now, this is a feature designed for people who are visually impaired or blind, so that individual needs all of that guidance to get through the page, right? There's no way they're going to move through the page with simply by touch as they go through. That just won't work. So this ability to have it read out loud makes sense. For other people, do they need that level of auditory support? Some people that might be too much. For others, that might be exactly what they need because they're seeing those items on the screen. Individuals with cognitive impairment, seeing the image on the screen or the button, but not quite sure what it does until they hear it announced. Oh, that's the button I need. Click. That says menu. I know that a menu brings me to other choices. I click it and then it gives me my other choices. So you could see how that could help somebody. But knowing the difference is critical between a voiceover or a screen reader and a simple text-to-speech reader. Two different things. You'll notice the text-to-speech on the page before was not going to read me all the navigation, was not going to read me all of the landmarks and everything else. So two different ways to do it. I will warn you, here's a little warning. If you decide, hey, I'm going to pause right now, I'm going to go play with VoiceOver. VoiceOver is very different. it does change the way your device works. So be careful. When you turn VoiceOver on, even before you turn it on, let's take one step backwards. Sorry. You're on your phone. You see something you want to select. What do? You tap it and select it, right? And off you go. It opens up an app. It does some kind of function. When you have VoiceOver on, that first tap simply announces where you are. So when I tap, it doesn't do anything. It just tells me what I just tapped. And if that's what I want to do, then I double tap on it. So it changes the way your touch access works on your device, which for some people takes a little while to get used to, because I just want to tap things and move. But you're going to find with VoiceOver, tapping and moving doesn't work. Tapping just simply announces things. And then I tap and it announces the next thing. So it's tap to select it, double tap to choose it. So as you can actually launch it. So there you go. So now you shouldn't be stuck in VoiceOver if you go off and explore. Some of the other things, so we have ways we can control our device. So I'm sure you've seen or explored and used things like Siri and things like that. I'm trying to not turn my iPad on by saying it too loud. You've used those things to maybe ask questions of your device or request information, or if you're using it as a writing tool, you may turn the microphone on the keyboard and then dictate to put text on the screen. Those are two ways we use our voice with our mobile devices. Here's another one. There's a new-ish feature. This is one of the newer features with voice. This is called voice control. This allows me to control my device with my voice. So now I can turn this on and I have what they call system level control. Open Google Chrome, open settings, go to accessibility, open up spoken content. I can say those things and suddenly it will do that for me. So I can control the functions of my device. I control the apps. I can control what I do within those apps. Think about anything you would do on your device and simply speak that out loud. And hopefully it will happen and it will do it. What's really nice about some of the commands, and sometimes people get worried and they want to learn every command, but the iDevices do something really nice where if you get the command wrong, it gives you a little idea. It gives you a guide of what maybe you could say. Like if I say, open up Chrome, it might say to me, say, open Google Chrome. And then I'll do that and then it'll open. So it's guessing what you're trying to do and then giving you the guidance as you move through it. Really nice. So again, if you need that functionality, that alternate access, right? Ultimately, voice control is an alternate access. If someone struggles to tap to select things, I can use my voice to select things. One of the things I like showing, because it just harkens back to some older technology, which I love, things that are old become new again. If you were a Dragon Naturally Speaking user way back in the 90s, I love saying way back in the 90s, way back, they had something called Mouse Grid. The grid has returned in voice control. So that center picture there shows you a grid, and the grid is basically taken the screen and mapped it out with numbered squares. If I want to select something in that square, I say choose 8, and then box 8 where the little slide button is for voice control. Then all of the squares would move into box 8 and they would be renumbered. And then maybe I would say choose 10. And it would continue to refine my choice. And then when I got there to where I wanted to be, I could say click, and it would click and it would perform that function. So it allows me to navigate around the screen in very fine movements because I can continually refine. Really interesting. I have a person I work with who uses that for a digital drawing program, because then they can grid to the exact spot on the page where they want to start a line, and then they select and the line starts there, and then they draw the line as they go. So they're using that to really fine tune where they choose on the screen. I just like the grid. It's like I said, it's old technology that's come back. One thing I would warn you about voice control if you're going to use this. So if this is something that an individual is going to use all day, this will kill your battery. It is a very heavy drain on your device. So if that's what you're going to use, keep in mind that you might want to have a backup. You might want to have the ability to plug into a wall. You might want to have a portable battery pack with you that could keep this device running, especially if having this voice control is going to be critical for you to use the device all day. Make sure that you're prepared for that. I know on my phone, when I turn on this voice control, I can watch my battery start to drain down. Like you can physically see it as it's running. And so it is definitely system heavy. So keep that in mind as you go. But a great feature. A couple other ones as we look. So now we're talking about how do I focus someone into an activity? And so one of the things that your iOS devices has something called guided access. Guided access allows you to pick an app or pick a space in your device in an app, and you can, in essence, lock someone into it. I put the quotes on lock. I don't like the word lock someone into it, but that's what you are doing. You're getting them into a space and then eliminating their ability to get out of that space. Now they can get out if you put in a code and unlock it, or you can set it with a timer. And after a certain amount of time, the device unlocks. I've seen this in classrooms where someone says, oh, you're going to work on this for 10 minutes. And then when you're done, you can go and you can play a game for 5 minutes, whatever it might be. So there's your reward for doing some work. And then you can set the timer to do that. Guided access locks them in that space. One of the other great things you can do is before you set guided access, before you hit lock or hit start in this case, you can, as the kind of the owner of guided access, you can circle spaces on the screen and it will gray out those spots. So if the page you're on or the app you're on has functions you don't want the person to use, you can circle them and they become a gray box that they cannot click. So you have that ability to keep people focused on their task. So this is the idea of task completion, keeping people focused. Really, really nice option. Guided access. Your Apple devices are the only devices that have something like this. None of the other tools have that. And so when I start to say that your Apple products have more well thought out features, this is an example. This is only going to get this on an iPhone and an iPad, guided access. The next iteration, what I'll call the next iteration of guided access, is their newer feature called assistive access. So where guided access puts you in one app, and that's all you can do, assistive access lets you choose a handful of apps. And what you're doing is simplifying the device for someone. Really like this. It's a great support. And so what you're seeing there is a simplified screen in the two visual displays, either icon boxes or one kind of row of icons, however you might want to do it. So same set of apps, two different visual views. And so this allows me to get someone into some of these apps and maybe remove some of the features of these apps that might make them complex. So making it simpler. Messages, maybe it has only a set number of few messages or a few recipients that I can send to. Maybe the call screen has some pre-stored call numbers that I can punch up and call, making it easier for someone to navigate the screen. So this is kind of the next step. Assistive access is great. Not every app on your device will be available to you in assistive access, meaning that some of your third-party apps won't be able to be added to this grid. Mostly, I'm trying to think if I can say all. I don't feel comfortable saying all, but I'll say mostly. Mostly this is your Apple apps. This is your built-in apps will be allowed to be added to this grid as you go forward for assistive access. Really nice feature that is used quite a bit for older adults who a smartphone might be too complex and just not necessary to have all those extra features. This makes it easier and simplifies it for them to navigate through. So we see that a lot in the community. Live captions. As we go forward with technology, we have become, thankfully, more accustomed to seeing captions available in our programs. You know, you're in Zoom, captions are there. You're in Google Meet, captions are there. So you have that functionality. Well, your phone and your iPad has that functionality now. So in your iPhone and iPad, you have something called live captions. Wherever audio is playing on your device, you will see the caption show up. If you're looking at that animated image at the bottom there, this is an individual having a FaceTime call, and the words are coming up above the person's head. So I'm getting live captions. So that could be FaceTime, that could be a video I'm watching, whatever it might be, live captions. Let people know those are there. That is a great feature, and the captions are very, very good, very accurate. Is it perfect? No. But is it close? Yeah. And it's good. It's still technically considered a beta version of live captions in your phones. I'm going to guess. So this is being recorded in August of 2025. I'm going to think when the next version of iOS comes out, that will no longer be a beta. I think they will have worked out the kinks, and that will just be called live captions. So you're seeing it in its first iteration right now. Speaking of first iterations, here's something. This has been one of those kind of holy grail built-in accessibility features that people have been waiting for. And it's the idea of embedding eye tracking into our mobile devices. So if you have iOS 18 or iPad OS 18 and your device meets that criteria in that list there, which I have to admit excludes quite a bit of devices, especially in the iPad world. You're getting a lot of devices that are being squeezed out of this because they don't meet the requirements, says the guy who just had to buy a new iPad because his wouldn't do this. This will give you the ability to train your device to follow your eyes. So once you do the training, and the training is follow a dot on the screen and it tracks where your eyes go as you're moving around the screen. Once you've done that, the cursor will show up on the screen and follow your eye movement. And then it'll allow you to select things on the screen. If you notice in the two pictures on the ends in that image there, it is showing you some of the functionality I can select with my eye as I look at it. So I can navigate around. You can set it to dwell. So if you're not familiar with any kind of eye tracking, as you move around and you kind of visually hone in on what you're looking for, the longer you keep your eye staring at that, the system will select it. As long as you keep your eye still, it will show you kind of a circular timer. And when that timer gets to the top, it will select it. That's called a dwell feature. It gives you a certain amount of time to stay locked in on something, and then it selects it. So then basically I can perform all the functions on my device that I would normally do with my finger or a stylus. I could do that with my eye, just simply by moving around, looking, and then locking in and waiting, and then having it select. So it's good. It's good. Is it perfect? I don't know if it's perfect, but I think it's really good. And again, we think about this idea of, remember, trying before we buy something, showing that something will work before we move to another device. Eye gaze systems are expensive. If I can try it on an iPad and demonstrate the effectiveness of this tool, maybe a funding source might be a little more inclined to say, yes, we will fund this other device. Or maybe you'll find that the built-in feature of this eye tracking works for someone. And again, then we go with that thought of we haven't had to buy anything because we have it already. But again, it gives you an idea of, is this the right path for this individual? And I can try it. So definitely check that out. Start to experience that. If you've never done eye tracking or eye gaze, and you might be in a position to recommend it for someone, I will encourage you to try it. It is much more fatiguing than you think, and it's much more difficult than you think. And so when, it gives you a new appreciation of it when you ask someone to do it, if you've had that experience, because it is not easy. In fact, I was just playing on my iPad before we started, and it's visually exhausting. And so keep that in mind as you go through. And remember, eye tracking, one other thing, eye tracking potentially is impacted by environmental factors. So think about where you are. Think about the light, whether it's natural light, artificial light, whatever it might be, glare, all of those things start to impact that as you're using the eye gaze. Because again, the camera needs to see you clearly so that it can track. I found mine was not working well, and I chalked it up to, because then I moved to another spot and it worked. I chalked it up to my glasses and the reflection of the light next to my desk, that it was not seeing me because I moved to another room and it worked much better. So keep that in mind as you go forward. Those are the kinds of things before. I always like to give people these thoughts before they say, you know what, that thing stinks. I hate that. No, try something different. Try it a couple times. Ask other people their experiences. Maybe the stinking had nothing to do with the technology, but maybe it had the environment impacting it. So there you go. Don't say eye tracking stinks. It doesn't stink. It's good. It's good. As we continue on our conversation of alternate access, maybe you have an individual you're working with who needs to use switches to control devices. So thinking about this idea of, I have some external device that I am selecting, and my iPhone is scanning through choices for me, and then I hit the switch to select it. That's how switch control would work. The switch control in your iDevices is very deep, lots of features, lots of customization. So there are settings there that will work for you. Something that you need to consider as you go forward is, what are you controlling? So thinking about that as you go, what are you looking to control? Are you looking to control the device? Because you're not going to get all that functionality with switch control. Are you looking to control menus? Are you looking to get in specific apps? Are you looking to control the features of different apps? So do a little written inventory about what it is you're trying to control, and then go off and explore, will the switch access allow you to do that? If you're thinking about third-party apps, well, here, I'll take one step back first. That's my cover myself statement, most of the Apple apps on your device will work with switch control. Again, they're kind of built into the system. They should work just fine. Your third-party apps, the ones you buy, the ones you download that are made by other companies. If you might reach out to the company and say, is your app switch accessible? And they may not know. But if the app is voice over accessible, it will be switch accessible. Those two things are the same. They use the same internal coding to navigate around the app. So you'd get better success asking an app manufacturer, is your app voiceover compatible? If it is, then it will also be switch compatible for you too. One thing to remember with switches, because it's not just about turning the things on inside your device, it's about the external pieces you need in order to be successful with this. You need some kind of interface between your switch and the device. You do not plug a single switch into an iPad. You just don't do it. That's not how this works. So you need some interface in the middle. The two devices in the center of the screen here are interfaces. One is wired. That's the one at the bottom. That's called the hook. That plugs directly into the iPad. Then you plug the switches into it. The one at the top is from a company called Tekla. That is a wireless interface. So that connects to your device wirelessly, and you plug the switches into the Tekla puck. It looks like a hockey puck. And then you plug all your devices into that. So remember, this is not about just simply turning the feature on. There's a lot of other considerations you have to go with here. For switch control, look at the pictures of the switches on the left. That's just a snapshot of switches that are available. What switch works for your person? That's another conversation. That's another consideration you have to look at. That's another thing you might have to explore. Is what kind of switch do I need? Look to the picture at the right. How do I mount that so the person can get to it? So simply turning on switch control is the tip of the iceberg here. It's all of these other conversations that have to happen as well, and all these other pieces that have to happen as well, whether it's the interface, the switch itself, the mounting, all of those things coming together to give that person access to the apps that they need to use. So keep that in mind as you go forward. This kind of going down a road for switch control is a little more involved, and there's a lot more conversation there than simply flicking it on in the iPad. All right, as we kind of come to the end, I gave you some of the features. Like I said, there's a bunch of others. Go and explore, check them out. I'm going to give you 2 other bonus apps. These are Apple apps, but you may have to put them on your device. Sometimes they're there. One of them is usually there. The second one is sometimes there, but you might have to put it in from the App Store. Here's 2. They are both Apple apps, so they're working with your system seamlessly. One is the Notes app. If you're not using the Notes app, you're missing out on a great tool. In the Notes app, I can open it up and type in some notes to myself and save them, a list, whatever I need. I can do that. But did you know the Notes app also allows you to scan documents? You can take a scan of something on paper and then annotate right on it. You can mark that up. You can put text boxes there. You can draw on it. You can highlight things. You can have that text read aloud because your device, once you scan the text, converts the text to readable text through something called OCR, optical character recognition. And it takes something that's paper, makes it digital that I can read. So I could listen to it and then mark it up and then send it back out to someone. So you have a very full functioned tool there that allows you to provide a lot of support to someone who may need it to be able to use their device to functionally read things and potentially write them. So now they have that functionality. So that's Notes. Check that out. Notes you probably have. It should be on your device already. The one that's not always on your device, but sometimes is Clips. And I like pointing this out to people because it's on the surface, it's a video recording app. That's what it is. It allows you to make video clips of yourself. But what it does, which is really cool, when we think about accessibility and what we're talking about here, is as you are recording, you can set the device up to automatically caption what you're saying. So as you're speaking, the captions are automatically appearing. So I'll show you this little clip.
So as I'm talking to you, it's automatically adding the captions to this video. And when I export it out, again, I have a fully accessible video.
There you go. Like I said, and then like I said again. But you see, that was automatic. I didn't have to do anything. And I like promoting this idea of creating materials that are accessible already. We want to promote this idea of accessibility. And how do we do that? For a lot of the things we try to get people on board, you make it easy. This is easy. I don't have to go in and add captions. I don't have to upload it to YouTube and wait for the captions to be available. No, I click the button on my device, on my phone in this case, I speak into it, captions are there, I export the video out, and I'm done. I've created a captioned, accessible video as I've gone forward. So check that out. If you have not seen clips, definitely check that out and share that with others, because that's a great example of a way that you can create content that is accessible from the start. So those are your two bonus apps. Let's wrap it up. Get you out of here and get you playing with something. So what's your call to action as you go forward? Well, if you didn't stop the video at any point because I was just so mesmerizing to listen to, which I could see that could happen. If you didn't stop, do that when we're done. Go in, play a little, click the buttons, turn things on. Go to YouTube and watch videos of how those apps, those features work. Every one of those features has a video on YouTube. I feel pretty confident about that. Go and watch the video and see. Try them out. Remember, one at a time. That'd be the only thing I would encourage you. One feature at a time. Play, turn it off, play for something else. So dig in, explore that a little bit, see what you have in your device. As you reflect on what we've talked about this morning, here's my challenge to you. It's a 3-step challenge. How can you show some of these features to at least 3 people? This is one of those areas, and it's a great example of the power of technology that people don't always know about. And so the best way for us to get that out there is to just show other people. Hey, I saw that my iPad reads. Did you know that? And then show them how it works. Did you know I can use my eyes to control my screen? Look at this. It's really cool. Get people involved by showing them those features. Then think about, as you're reflecting, how are you going to use these features to support people in your environment? I know mostly we're talking about education here. So in the classroom, how can I use these in the classroom to support the students? And then finally, the next level beyond this, what do I need in order to support them? So how can I use them? And is there something else necessary in order for us to use this effectively? Is there more training that needs to happen? Is there something I need from the tech department to support me in doing this? Do the students need devices that they can use these on? Do I have to have them available in the classroom? Think about what that looks like, your system that you put in place to support people. Because these are great examples. If you're working with students right now, remember that there's the old saying that you will never use less technology than you did today. Every day going forward, you will use a little more technology. Now, for some of us, that's a little scary. For others, no, not so much. That's exciting. The students we're working with will be living in a world that is technology infused. How are we showing them how to navigate through those tools so they can be as independent as possible as they go forward? That felt like a soapbox moment, but it really wasn't. It was just a little reflective thought. Thank you for your time. I'm glad that you listened all the way to the end. I hope you did. If you are here and it's the end, I'm thankful for that. There is every single way to connect with me. Please connect. Questions or thoughts, email me. I'm around. I'd be happy to chat with you about stuff. You want to find me on social media, there's all of my social media channels. So they are all there. I am hopeful that we will connect in the future. I hope that this was valuable to you. I hope that this has piqued an interest in you to dig into your technology a little deeper. I mentioned in the beginning that this is part of a series of webinars I'm doing here. So I have built-in for iOS, built-in features for Android, and built-in features for Chrome. So if you haven't looked at those and you're interested, go find those too. And you'll hear more of these little nuggets of fun here. So again, thanks very much and have fun with your tech. Take care.
Thank you for joining us. Are you a New Jersey educator looking for support or professional development tailored to your district's AT needs? We offer free, customized training and coaching for NJ teachers, paraprofessionals, and families. From hands-on workshops to individual classroom support and small group facilitation, we're here to help. Visit us at atcenter.tcnj.edu to learn more. Have a question? Contact us at atcenter@tcnj.edu. Please like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe for more content on all things assistive technology.